Hello, everyone. Welcome to Winthrop in the World. I'm Paul Baskin, and with us today is Jim Letterie. Jim is the Town Council President here in Winthrop. Thank you very much for taking the time to come in today. There's, as always, a lot going on, but especially outside of even direct politics. I want to hit a couple things right from the start, which is there's been a lot of police and fire activity in town lately. We had a fire at one of the yacht clubs, and we just had a fire at a couple of houses in town, and we had a murder, unfortunately, too. And wanted to hear you on any of those, and just sort of maybe get whatever you can tell the town, other than assume you're concerned for the people involved. But anything else to update folks on in terms of what's going on? Maybe what, if you know anything, what caused the fire at the marina, or what caused the fire at the houses, or anything else to say about these situations?
Sure. No, it is very sad. Sad news all the way around on those three. As far as the incident at the house down near the beach, in regards to the murder, there was no additional information I could share right now. It's a terrible thing. As far as the fire at the CPYC, Cottage Park, on the marina, we were incredibly fortunate. Nobody was injured. We lost several boats, I think a dozen or more. You know, a good amount of them went to the bottom of the water there in the harbor, and remarkably, the next day they had a company there that were able to raise the boats. And now there's an investigation going on as far as going through any video cameras that have been around the marina or just in general cause, and nothing to add on that. And then the fire yesterday at River Road, two family houses, 4 families displaced, terrible, very, very nice people. Not sure of the cause. I know it's been on the news. They've been talking about an electric charger, either the car itself, the electric vehicle, or the electric charger. I know there's also been talk about a gas lawnmower that had just been used, but no definitive cause there. But again, thank God all families are safe and secure.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Other updates of late, the schools. We just had a graduation, and we also just had a teacher contract. And some of them are self-evident, but is there anything you maybe want to tell the town about either of those, or anything about the schools these days and how they're doing?
Well, I will say the school graduation, again, one of my favorite events. That day, weather is always an issue. You never know. First weekend in June, last weekend in May, whatever it happens to be. And they made a call about 5 hours before graduation saying that they were going to move it inside. Matt Crombie, the principal, along with the superintendent, Lisa Howard, made that call. And it was remarkable what they did. And the call went out to all the kids, and all the kids from the high school came down. They moved all the chairs in within an hour and a half. Everything was set up. It was amazing. And it went off flawlessly. It was a great graduation. Kids are incredibly well deserving of all the accolades they got. And the amazing thing is, when you look at scholarships in this small town of 19,000 people, 1.6 square miles, and the Winthrop Public Schools gave out over $600,000 in scholarships that day, which is just amazing. And obviously 2 major families, one the Fasella family, which you know, a very unassuming couple, and when they passed, they had no children. They left a sizable fortune to the Winthrop Public Schools, which the Winthrop Public Schools invest and basically give out scholarships in terms of the interest that's received during that year. Also the Ramondi family, a family that grew up in Winthrop and is from Winthrop, they give 5 $25,000 scholarships over the past. I think this is the 3rd or 4th year that they've done that. Another incredibly generous gift that they give to this town.
Yeah, and on the teacher contract, it's been settled, but it took almost a year. And I'm wondering what, if anything, you have to say in reflection on that, and what's going to happen next time. Is this going to be the new norm in Winthrop?
Well, we'll find out relatively soon, because we're already 1 year into this 3-year contract. So yeah. I guess in another year and a half, we'll start again. It's a process. I thank the WTA for their diligence in working with the school committee, and I think the Winthrop School Committee did a remarkable job. They had you have to put personality out of this, and you have to worry about finances and the town itself. And this town, again, I've said it often, was so incredibly generous a year ago when they passed that override for the schools. And we knew then what we had, and we knew that we couldn't overspend that, and we knew that we made promises to the town that, you know, our focus was going to be on maintaining a fantastic staff, which we're so happy we have, pay them fairly, and not have any layoffs, and maintain proper class sizes. And I think we were able to accomplish all that.
Right, and we are seeing layoffs in surrounding towns. Revere comes to mind, and there's maybe some others too.
Oh, Revere, the city of Boston is looking at upwards of 500 layoffs. Revere also many layoffs along with Chelsea. Right. So we're very fortunate in that regard, and I think a lot of that is the way we dealt with the COVID money that came in. We did not spend it on reoccurring expenses. We spent it on one-time charges to try to bolster electronics and computers and such infrastructure there. So we used it wisely, and we maintained our ability to generate fair and balanced contracts.
Okay. We're going quick because there's a lot to get to, but another
okay.
big thing that's come up is the bus system. There's, as you saw, that the MBTA finally has decided to maintain service to Point Shirley. They are moving one of the two lines now to end at Beachmont instead of Orient Heights. I'm just wondering what you think when you see that.
No, I think, you know, I want to thank, I know Senator Edwards played a big part in this, and I know former Council Vice President Hannah Belcher played a huge part in this. The council had been sending letters over the last year and a half with our feelings on this and how important it is to the town. And we're just very happy that it came out pretty much as good as it could have come out right now.
So how about, is there any concern, I guess one on cost? I mean, Point Shirley needs service. I think a lot of people agree, but it's also the ridership there is quite low. Yeah. And is that, I'm just wondering what you think of that in terms of the bang for the buck, and there's any other way to sort of handle that?
Well, I think, you know, the ridership is relatively low at the point, but I don't think those handful of people that use it should be treated any differently than everybody else that lives in town. Just because you live maybe in a more remote area or an area that doesn't access the transportation as much, it's still, you know, you're still a taxpaying citizen and deserve the same rights as everybody else.
Right. We, of course, can't avoid 3A. It's the housing law. It's been the discussion of pretty much every time you've been on here. It's and it seems the effects of it seem to be still accumulating as best we can tell. And so I just want to hear you. I guess one thing, as we're taping this on a Monday, so tomorrow in Plymouth is going to be a court hearing on the case that's trying to dismiss the well, I guess the way to say it is to exempt Winthrop from the constraints of the law. Could you just sort of tell us where you stand on that law right now? And there's a lot of talk about whether you're still where your position is on it and the wisdom of it and all that. Maybe you could just tell people where we are on that. Sure.
So tomorrow, June 9th, there'll be a court proceeding down in Plymouth, and that proceeding will be a couple of things. The council voted to be a participant on that lawsuit. The AG filed a motion to dismiss us as to not allow that to happen.
Right.
So that will be heard
to require compliance.
Yeah, well, to dismiss us from being able to go on to the lawsuit.
Oh, dismiss the town from being, this is a private lawsuit?
Yes, and they also have a motion to dismiss the case. Right. So they will act on those two motions. And, you know, with courts, it could be continued again. We could hear some relative news tomorrow. But, you know, again, back in January of, I don't know if it was 24, 25 now, it's been so long. I mean, I was the first public figure to come out and say I'm against this law. And I've said from the beginning, I'm against it on principle. I feel, and I know the courts have said otherwise, I feel it's unconstitutional. My concern is not as much on units, because I mean, if you go around Winthrop, there are units being built. But I say, as I always have, and I know former police chief Terry Delahanty used to say all the time, you know, to build is okay, but you have to do it prudently, and you have to be realistic with it. And you can't be doing it recklessly. And I 100% agree with that. So it's not as much the units. Obviously, we don't want a ton of units coming into this town all at once. It just makes no sense. We don't have the infrastructure set up for that. We don't have the school systems to be able to afford that luxury to more and more kids coming in. And obviously, it's costly. And I don't think I think the negatives outweigh the positives in terms of tax revenue that it brings in. However, again, I think this is a constitutional issue. I am against it. I think it's a bad law. I think I've talked to you offline, and I think a lot of people feel it's a bad law. but it is a law, right? I voted against it twice on the council and continue to think it's a bad law. However, my first obligation always is to maintain all the benefits that we have for our citizens, and I have to be very cognizant of the financial ramifications. Now, when this law was first introduced, it affected 4 grants, and then that went to 12 when we voted, basically, and then up to 14. And then it went to the state courts, and the courts basically gave the governor the ability to forfeit any grants she chose. And now we're seeing grants that are affecting children. We have almost $300,000 in school or school-related grants that we are not eligible for and haven't and won't be getting next year. It affected public safety in a way that the governor did change her mind on a grant, but now it's affecting even tree grants that should have had nothing to do with this, and we lost a $100,000 grant on that. So at some point, I'm still against the law. You can walk and chew gum at the same time. I hope these citizens are fortunate. That would be the best thing that happens for the town. I mean, there's been some ardent citizens that have come out, especially with this lawsuit. I did not vote for the town to participate in this specific lawsuit, but I did give my blessings to the town manager and to the town in terms of filing our own lawsuit, which we have, and it is ongoing, and we think we have a better chance there and hope to get to a federal level on that. However, in the meantime, we have to do what we can do to make sure that our town doesn't suffer financially to a point where, you see effects of that. I'm a big boy, and I understand if there was an infrastructure grant we lost, that's part of the choice we made, because this is a bad law. And because, again, and I've said this often, Winthrop was ahead of the curve. Winthrop developed. Winthrop set plans out and procedures, especially with the CBD, that enabled us to continue to develop at a pretty good pace for a town of our size. And the fact that we were ahead of the curve shouldn't penalize us. However, again, sometimes you fight the battle, you fight the war as much as you can, and you don't always win. Yeah. And I mean, at some point, I think that if the council's not willing to take this issue up again and vote on it, I think that the town should vote on it, and we should get a clear indication of what the town wants, because ultimately we're stewards of the town and all the citizens, right? But I mean, I see financial impacts that when it starts affecting children, especially children that really need the services. Some of these grants that we lost recently were for children the ages of 2 to 5, even preschool kids that are looking for help during the days and stuff like that. And to be taking that away from us is just ludicrous. And as, quote unquote, the leader of the town, I can't sit back and let that happen.
Yeah, you're talking about the Winthrop Parents Network, and I want to ask about that. But just let's be clear what you just said here, which is, one, you said vote in the town. What's your expectation of the outcome if there was a vote in the town?
What I think the town would say? Mm-hmm. I think, again, this has changed so much. I think a year and a half ago, this was a 90-10 issue that the town was just 100% against 3A on its principles. Mm-hmm. And I think that has diminished because of the loss of revenue. Right. I think almost everybody that thought the law was a bad law from the beginning hasn't changed their minds. It's a terribly written law, and it affects small communities like ours much differently than larger communities. And it shouldn't be enforced in a town like Winthrop. However, I can't also sit back and look at the damage that it potentially can do and has started to do this for fiscal 27 coming up and just sit back and not do anything. I think, I've said from the beginning, this is an issue that people have to get educated on. You can't just listen to random thoughts because, you have people that are saying two totally conflicting items, but you have to be well versed in this. So to come full circle and answer your question, I think this is very close in this town right now. I think right now, if this was on the ballot in November, I think it could pass.
You think compliance could pass?
I think compliance could pass because, you have to fight. You fight every fight you can, but you're not going to win every fight. And in the end, you have to protect the citizens in the town and the structure of the town. You could still continue to fight,
Right.
but
But if people are seeing that compliance could pass town-wide, is there any prospect for the town council to reflect that perspective? Or is that completely out of the question, or is there a chance that the council could also adjust to that?
there's a 100% chance that the town could adjust, the council could adjust to that. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see it on an agenda in the near future. I know that there are councilors, and we all, I mean, we would be crazy to say we all would not love to see the suit that's going before at the courts tomorrow, the total exemption for Winthrop, win.
Yeah.
But we also have to be cognizant of the chances of that and have backup plans. And I'm sure that most of the council probably would like to see that process to its end before they did something.
So there's so many elements here, so let's try and pull some of them out. One, you did mention you got into the Winthrop Parents Network and you talked about the hurt there. Can you just tell people what that Winthrop Parents Network is and why it's important to the town?
Yeah, well, it's run by an incredibly kind person. Her name is Anita Preble. And the fact that she's incredibly kind and incredible at what she does, that's not why this is bad. This is bad for the children. I mean, it's terrible because she does such fantastic work. And these are children that might not have the ability to have care for them at home during school hours and such. And they're able to go in there and learn so many different things before they start attending school. And this is a grant that we've had for several years. And this is a grant that we received. It's a multi-year grant that they're taking it away now towards the end of the grant, which is just, again, something that we haven't seen. There's just always a new nuance to this. And I have to throw out kudos. I know I talked to Representative Turco, and he is trying to contact the governor directly to see if she will change her mind or look at the logic in this to realize that this is a very bad decision, and hopefully we get that grant back. So I applaud him. He is always there looking out for for what could benefit Winthrop, and I am incredibly proud to call him a friend and thank him for his service to this town.
You alluded to these, so these are some recent numbers, and the town manager, Marino, came up with an estimate, I believe, of about $2.5 million. That's the amount of money that the town either has lost in state grants or has been made ineligible for. Take it that was the correct number as of whenever he put it out a month or two ago. Is there a more
Yeah,
updated
I
number?
don't think that that's, I think that that's an accurate number. Now, again, and again, yes, I do think that's an accurate number. We don't know we don't know if we would have got these grants regardless or not.
Well,
so we're assuming some of them
Yeah.
you just cannot even apply for. And most of that is on the schools, that there's a description that's saying if you are not in compliance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts 3A, don't apply, basically. So, I mean, those you kind of say, hey, we can't. There are others that you say, well, maybe we wouldn't have got it anyway or not. But it would be hard to fight the argument and to make the argument that we have not had substantial losses because of our noncompliance.
So one of them, and again, the town manager has a difference of opinion from the head of the town's climate commission. This is talking about the fire station. The fire station is a big project in town, obviously. There was talk early on about possibly building it in a way that allowed for geothermal energy, which is basically different ways of extracting heat or cooling from the ground. It's supposedly cheaper and more sustainable and all that. But there was some grant money apparently that would have gone toward this, and the town didn't get that as well. And this the question is whether that's a result of that's not going in the fire station one way or the other. I just wonder sorry if that's a complicated question, but can you maybe tell folks whether you see value in geothermal as a heating source for the fire station and beyond, and the degree to which the 3A situation played into that?
Yeah, I don't think, I think 3A had some sort of an effect on that. I think the cost of doing that, even with the grant, might have been prohibited for a town like us. I think in the long run, way down at the end of the road, I think it's probably a beneficial thing. But I think the cost of doing it, again, we made a promise to the town as to what we were going to spend, and they made a vote based on that promise, and this would have put us over that amount, and I just don't think it was something that was feasible at this point.
Were numbers run to say, like, if we spent X dollars more than we planned for this kind of system, this heating system, geothermal, it would have saved us X number of dollars per year going forward? Or is there any kind of like calculation on that?
I'm sure there is some sort of calculation. I don't know how completely accurate it might be.
Okay.
You know, it's definitely a cleaner form of energy, but we are trying to make this building as clean as possible. But it is probably something that, well, it is something now that we will not be able to do in this building.
So whether it was 3A or not, the relations on the council, at least looking at it from the outside, look a lot more strained maybe than they had been, certainly as going back to the election. And it seems like this, some of the, I mean, if that meeting in April, there was a town council meeting in April that was quite contentious. It went on for a long time, and it just looked like something was going on among the council in terms of relations that maybe, I don't know, if I mean, some way of asking, like, what do you see going on there? Is that just normal politics, or is there something sort of fundamentally going on in this town, and to what degree it involves the question of town council president leadership and how that's exercised and all that?
Well, I hope it's not a reflection on the council president leadership, but I mean, it's just differences of opinion, and people have similar goals, but different ways to get there, right? I can't imagine there's anyone on that council that doesn't want what's best for Winthrop, but what somebody thinks is best might not be what the other person thinks is best, right? I mean, it doesn't just happen in small towns. Look at the state, look at the nation. I mean, there's just division in a lot of ways. I think our divisions are much more small and much more related. You know, even 3A is the perfect example. I think everyone on that council agrees that 3A is a bad law, but there might be different ways that we chose, that we believe is better to proceed, that would make us in a better, comfortable financial position while enabling us to still fight the battle. So I don't think, you know, there was a contentious meeting back in early April. I think since then the council has been pretty reserved, and I mean, you're going to see contention at various times during the 2 or 4 years somebody's there. So I don't think it's crazy. I think times have changed a little bit. I think there's many more specific issues that draw people into politics instead of overall issues, and but I think, you know, again, I think everybody has the right mindset that they want what's best for Winthrop. It's just a difference of opinion as to how to get there.
One of the issues that came up at that very long meeting was some council members using their cell phones during the meeting. That happens with some regularity, but I guess this went on for a while. It looked like there was potential, at least to hear some of the people say it, there was questions of whether there was outside, I don't know, coordination going on with people. And maybe just briefly, can you say, do you have a position on the question of whether council members should be using their cell phones during a meeting and talking to who knows what and all that kind of thing, or should that, or what?
All I could say is I would be in favor of a cell phone ban during meetings.
Okay.
I don't think, you know, everybody always says, well, there could have been an emergency at home or something like that. I mean, we went for a very long period of time without technology at your fingertips like that. I do not think it's that harsh a thing to be able to say we're not going to have cell phones operating at a council meeting. But having said that, there have been times, and I'm very reluctant sometimes, that I might have to ask the town clerk a question about the agenda that I noticed ahead.
Right, and she's not sitting next to you.
And she's not sitting right next to me, so sometimes I'll try to text her, and then I'll say, you know, again, visually, it might, you know, people might be thinking something opposite, but I think in correctly, I don't think we should be using electronic devices like that during a meeting.
And again, whether it's related to this leadership, whatever issue or what, seems like a lot more complaints or concerns heard these days about transparency, the transparency of the town government, your ability to go on the town website and learn basic facts about what's going on, and appointments, the handling of appointments to commissions in town, which a lot of that is in your power as the town council president. Maybe two joint things, but I'm just sort of maybe hear you on both. One, does the town government need to be more transparent, more visible to the people of Winthrop, and if so, how? And on the commission, the appointment of people to committees, again, another potentially long discussion, but is there anything there that needs to be changed from where we are?
I don't think so. Committees are pretty straightforward. If it's a policy-making committee, the appointments are made by the council president. If it's a policy-making committee, so somebody that changes legislation, like a planning board or a board of appeals, licensing board, those appointments need the confirmation of the council, a majority vote in the council. If it's a non-policy-making board, it does not require the consent of the council. Now, I know we had issues that in January on some appointments, and it's always been my policy and every council president passed to just let everybody vote basically on every item, but it got some contention. So, I'm adhering to the charter now. We're saying non-policy making appointments are made by the council president. Policy-making appointments do need, there'll be probably one or two appointments tomorrow night, which would be policy-making, which will require a vote of the council. And sometimes it could just be, somebody may have, and anybody that's applying or that I'm appointing comes along with an application. And sometimes it's just as simple as people not having the opportunity to see that application or to read that application. And as far as transparency goes, I would fight that. I think we are an incredibly transparent council in its totality. And if there are things that are not on the way, I know you had mentioned something the other day about an item on the firehouse building that it wasn't on there.
Right.
And, if it's not, that's something that 100% with a phone call to me or whoever should be made available because everything, especially financials, in the firehouse committees, which are open meetings to the public, every meeting we go over the budget. And if there's any change order in anything on that budget, the project manager will come to us and say, hey, I just want to be up front. Here's the change. This saved you X amount of dollars. This cost us X amount of dollars. We have a contingency to cover it. Let's move forward. So I think we are pretty transparent. And the best situation is the budget. We just passed, hopefully tomorrow night, Tuesday, we will pass the budget, which in its totality, including all the enterprise funds, is upwards of $84 million. That has been gone over with a fine-tooth comb for 3 months with the Finance Commission, and everyone is invited to those meetings, and we invite department heads to the meetings. Matt Gorkowitz, who's the chairperson of the Finance Commission, is incredibly intelligent and articulate when it comes to the town's finances. And
the governor's budget director.
Yeah, we're incredibly fortunate to have a person like that.
Yeah.
So our budgets are an open book, really.
Yeah. Again, long discussion, but one aspect of it is the vice president of the town council has suggested bringing AI, or at least raise I don't want to put words in her mouth, but she certainly brought in someone to put that perspective in front of the town and again in front of the town council. I'm just wondering, do you see a role for AI in town government, in town communication, town anything?
Yeah, at some point I do see a role in it. It's just probably the way things are heading. I get very nervous about it, especially when you're looking at municipalities, looking at any information that could be hacked into or whatever. But I think the town manager has a plan in place that we're looking at, some software from Microsoft, I believe. But this is a cost-related item too, and the benefits. And, it's something that, I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form on AI, and there's always that concern about the unknown, right? Something you don't know about, it takes you a while to learn it and to understand it and such. So yes, do I think somewhere down the road there is a use for AI in municipalities? I do. Do I think we're there right now? I don't think we have enough information yet as to how it's going to help us.
Okay. A bunch of other things in the time we have left. One, there was a very emotional issue. Again, it's been a while since we talked. At one of the town council meetings from the girls softball team and their situation, the fact that they seem to get bumped around in fields, and there's a field right near the high school that would be roughly parallel to the situation the boys baseball team has. And I'm wondering if you could just tell folks what should be done about that situation. It seems like they're now at Ingleside and there's problems there. They don't have lockers or the kind of the equivalent situation that the boys baseball team does. And I just want to hear, has there been any update on that, and where's that going?
Well, there is not a bigger supporter of girls athletics in this town or other towns than I am. And I think the opportunity we had at Ingleside Park to turn a baseball field that really wasn't getting the proper attention it deserved or the use it deserved, it was an awesome idea to turn it into a softball field. I think timing, trying to do anything in the early spring with rain and such is difficult. And it was unfortunate that it wasn't ready on time. I do think the field is incredibly well maintained now, and I will do everything I can to make sure that that continues. We are trying to give access to, restrooms and stuff like that within the building, which would be very similar to any situation at the high school.
Building being
the building being
hockey?
the hockey rink and the gymnasium. But there are different. I mean, hockey plays at the gym at the rink. Obviously, doesn't play next to the high school. Softball team used to play in the Little League A field, which you look at it and it's like, wow, what a really pretty field. But it's not conducive for softball. It's conducive for Little League, right?
Well,
the mounds are different. The infield is not skinned. It's grass. The girls should be able to have the same type of facility as, that's as required by MIAA.
Yeah, no, I mean, but the two things you mentioned at the so-called, what we're talking about was the field next to the high school.
Yep.
That you could put grass back on it. You could take off the mound. So those things are fixable. I'm just wondering is the Ingleside really the best long-term solution if they have to commute there. They don't have locker facilities there at least now, and they talked about the bathrooms being not really appropriate for them.
Well, I don't think they have to commute far to get to Ingleside. I think that will be a fantastic place for them to play, and I think that should be the permanent place. I think that if you look at facilities at the baseball diamond, you would have scheduling issues with that because you can't have a baseball game and a softball game regardless of whether the softball field was on the C field or the B field because of the interaction with the baseball being potentially hit to center field into the softball field. If you're talking about fields that would be next to the high school, it would be either the Little League B field or the Little League C field, I assume is what you're talking about.
No, I think what one possibility was the A field, which is what.
Well, the A field is a Little League field that has grass on the infield. You're not going to take the grass out for Little League and then use it.
No, it would have to probably become the girls' softball team, and the Little League would have to go find another third field, maybe Ingleside or maybe some other location.
I think the field at Ingleside is better place for softball than the A field, personally.
Okay, we're past time, but if I can quickly hit a couple things. One is MassPort. There's negotiations coming on MassPort, and I realize that could be a massive situation. But is there anything you can briefly tell people? The town has an agreement with MassPort because of Logan, of course. And what should people know in summary of what's going on with this?
Well, our agreement with MassPort is not necessarily because it's Logan, it's because it's a pilot agreement, right? So it's payment in lieu of taxes.
Okay.
The reason why we have an agreement with them is because there is some Winthrop land at the airport, right? There's 0.3 of a square mile of the airport, which is on Winthrop property. So they are paying us basically like a real estate tax bill or a pilot agreement, which is different than the MWRA, which is just a mitigation package. They're paying us for the disturbance that they cause the town of Winthrop with trucks going through and such like that, right? So two different types of agreements.
Well, couldn't there be a claim that Logan has quite a
We
substantial...
also have mitigation claims with Logan, which brings into account the Winthrop Foundation, which MassPort pays the Winthrop Foundation $500,000 a year for certain mitigation items, like a couple of parking garages that had come up. If there are further mitigating circumstances, like if they were to build another garage or to add something else that would have a detrimental effect to our town, we have every right to ask for mitigation for that. It would not affect the pilot program, but it would be a separate mitigation package for whatever hardship we would have to endure.
So to be clear, so the agreement that's coming up for discussion promptly
night.
is about the
pilot agreement.
As far as the overall relationship of Logan to Winthrop, I mean, there's obviously major effects on
Absolutely.
Winthrop. I mean, in terms of noise,
Health-wise,
pollution.
noise.
Are we getting what are we getting compensated as a town for that? And is it sufficient, and adequate, and appropriate?
Well, as far as the town is concerned, it's never sufficient, right? We always would like more, and they would always like to pay less. I mean, that's the whole point of negotiations. But we had a 20-year agreement with MassPort, a pilot agreement that was signed by the Board of Selectmen. So that was one of the last things the Board of Selectmen did in 2005 before it was turned over to a town council.
Right.
So it's the first time the town council is doing a pilot agreement
Okay.
with MassPort. So it's very difficult, and we are asking for a lot of information in terms, and not even in regards to the pilot agreement, but just in regards to going forward and potential mitigation in terms of health benefits, and, well, not benefits, but consequences from the planes.
So is there a negotiation coming up on that, or when's the next time
I
that
think
gets
you'll
opened
see
up?
discussions with MassPort ongoing after this pilot
Pilot thing is
agreement is
taken care
reached.
of.
I think you'll see continued negotiations.
So we're basically out of time,
discussions.
but I just want to hear, because there's talk on some people that we're getting no way near what the effect is on the town of what's happening. And I'm just wondering, as a sort of a general big picture sense, would you agree with that? Is there
I don't necessarily agree with that. If you look at the pilot agreement we have, and you look at the amount of acreage that we have, and then you look at the city of Boston or East Boston and the amount of acreage they have, we're actually getting paid pretty much the same per square mile.
On the
if you-
pilot?
On the pilot,
Okay,
yes.
but I'm asking
in terms
about-
of mitigation, it's a different thing, because I would go down and look at Pierce Park and say, look at that beautiful park that MassPort maintains for East Boston. However, that's owned by MassPort, and it's maintained by MassPort. So, you have to look into everything else. But no, I think we always have to continue. We cannot be complacent in terms of MassPort and in terms of the effect that the airport has on this town. I don't think we could be complacent at all, and we always have to be looking to make sure that we're taking care of as best we can. And no matter what the money is, we want to make sure that we're safe. I mean, the health and safety of the townspeople are more important than money to me.
Yeah. Well, a lot of questions. We didn't get to them all. We got to a lot of them. So again, the town council president, Winthrop, Jim Letterie, thank you for the time today.
Thank you. I appreciate the time to talk to you.